Alright, so remember the map that we picked up earlier? That is now the player's in-game map. And we're going to jump ahead now, cheating a little bit, to jump ahead to some of the points of interest. The high biological material concentration in this case. We're going to find out what that's all about right now. Alright, so this is a boss known as the Varangian. The Varangian is one of the war leaders in the attack against Kingsman. And Varangian is actually based, again, on real-world history. In this case, there was a group of Vikings who were shipwrecked on the coast of Russia. And instead of sailing home, they decided to stay there and form a mercenary troop and take part in the wars there. And they had a really fierce reputation for their berserker rage and their bloodlust. And so this is one of the former Varangian troop who takes part in our game, and there's a good reason for that, but Martin's going to talk about the actual boss fight.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first boss fight in the first dungeon in the secret world, so the mechanics are fairly simple, but it teaches the players some important mechanics. At certain times, the Varangian will wipe his aggro list and charge a random player. At that point in time, it's really important that the guy playing the tank is on the ball and uses his holding abilities to regain the control of the fight. Also, as we mentioned at the beginning, the drow control the zombies, and at certain times he will submerge himself into water and spawn some zombies. And when he does that, it's really important to damage down the zombies quickly before he reappears to maintain that level of control. So what you see right now is the Varangian is realizing that he's losing the battle and he's retreating to a different area. He's trying to throw some zombies in the way to slow the players down. But it's important that the players just keep following him and see where he's going.
Yeah, so you'll see up ahead that the Varangian has actually created himself some sort of nest by taking the empty containers from the ship and forming this little area of barriers. Within that area, he has electrified the water. So the first thing that you were taught in the area is about the mini-boss fights is to avoid electrified water. And as you can see, he's done the same thing here, and there's a little bit of a twist to it.
He has a few electric copies to you now. In addition to have the water around him electrified, you can also put electricity on certain containers. So, as you see right here, there are these electrical thingies on the containers. The player has already learned that electricity is bad for you, so it's all about reading your surroundings, adapting to that, remembering what you've been told in the previous fight, and putting that all all that knowledge into the boss fight while still damaging this guy down.
Should probably get off that container.
Yeah.
Alright, so we've been talking a lot about the combat and the fighting in the game. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're incorporating real-world elements into the game, the secret world. So, the guys in the cutscene mentioned that this ship was transporting cargo that was highly classified in the cutscene. So, the players come across this glowing green chest in the area, and when they attempt to unlock it, they find that it's locked with a code. So here's where we're asking the players of our game to actually step outside the box. In this case, quite literally the outside of the box has a shipping container number on it. And the players can actually go online and find the website for Orochi.net, which is the company that they were talking to at the start, look up the shipping manifest for the Polaris who went missing in 2007, input this shipping container code, and find out the code for unlocking the cargo within that crate. So this is one of the ways in which we're trying to integrate these real-world puzzles, these ARG elements that we've had in our game so far in the marketing. We're trying to implement these into the actual game space itself. So players who enjoy that sort of thing, enjoy puzzles, will have something to do in the game as well. So we're going to hop forward now into an area that's closer to the center of the dungeon. And here we are in the shadow of the Polaris itself, the ship that's crashed into the shore. And you can see these huge tentacles coming out of the ship as the ship is slowly converted into a drow base. Now, the player's going to be fighting some zombies here. The zombies themselves that you see in this dungeon are actually the former crew of the Polaris. The drow themselves don't have hands that can be used to operate human instruments, so they needed to resurrect these sailors and use them to pilot the ship into the shore. And we're going to progress through this breach in the hull. Martin's going to talk a little bit about progression in the secret world.
Just a few words on progression, because we don't have any levels, but we do have lots of different ways for a player to progress with his character. We have both vertical progression and horizontal progression. The vertical progression comes in the form of getting better items. Getting better items make you stronger, and makes you do more damage, make you heal better, makes you crowd control for longer, stuff like that. But in addition to that, and equally important, is the horizontal progression, which is about getting all these different abilities. This is comparable to a collectible card game mechanic like Magic the Gathering, for instance, where a person who holds every single card isn't necessarily the best player, but he has the most options when it comes to creating cool combos or for like countering the flavor of the week build. So this is what the secret world is all about. Having the options, you're presented with an obstacle and you choose how you want to overcome that obstacle.
Alright, so we're coming up now on the center of the Polaris Dungeon. And here we're going to find out who's really leading the charge against Kingsman Town. Alright, so this is the Primordial Dweller. This is the mastermind behind all the attacks on the town, the Kingsman Town. And the player's going to have to learn, use every mechanic that they picked up throughout the entire dungeon to be able to take this boss down.
So you guys can see he's fighting with the same dragon magic as we saw in the first mini-boss fight. He's protected by this white barrier that needs to be countered by certain abilities that the players have. He also spawns this poisonous ink on the ground that will erupt after a few seconds that the players need to get away from. Also, these exploding pods that we saw earlier are now attached to zombies that will run up to the players and stand next to the players and explode after a few seconds unless they're killed or crowd controlled away from the group. In addition, this guy also spawns these small variations of himself called octopods that will spawn in groups of 4 and will just keep harassing the players unless they're killed or crowd controlled and kept away from the group. So the players really need to take all the knowledge that they've learned from playing this dungeon into one big fight.